You all on board. It's another time with Tutor.io, the enthusiastic tutor, and in today's tutorial, it happens to be another of our revision classes. Okay, I think I need to adjust my camera a little bit. Okay, it's great to have you all on board. It's another time with Tutor.io, the enthusiastic tutor, and it's another semester. All roads good for last semester. First, we all are enjoying our holiday, and we are ready to get started with classes. I mean, so today it happens to be class for the course ACC210. It happens to be the very first class we're having on this course. So we know we are all expected to have our writing materials. We're expected to take note as we progress into this class. Pay attention to everything we'll be saying and everything the tutor will be saying and everything we're putting that on the whiteboard, and you're expected to submit your notes immediately after the class. So for those of us who are new to the stream, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you want to show to give us a thumbs up if you find it very helpful. Subscribe to the channel and also turn on the notification bell so you can get notified whenever we upload classes, videos that are related to your course. With this being said, let's off straight into it. For those of us who are not aware that we have a private class where we dedicate our time and effort to bring you to readiness for the semester and do well in the exam as a whole, you might want to visit our official website today, which is www.tutorio.net. Use the WhatsApp button in the top right corner to send us a direct message so we can add you to the private class and you can get a whole lot more. What we do basically on YouTube is more like 30%. There's so much more that you should have access to if you want to take your classes or studies top notch this semester. Just send us a direct message going through our official website and we'll be happy to have you join the private class. With this being said, let's go straight into it. Okay, so according to the thumbnail, okay, I think the audio is perfect, but I don't know why my camera keeps giving me the sign. I think I need to adjust something just very quickly. Okay, I want nothing but the best, so I think I need to adjust my camera real quick. Yeah, I think it's better now. So let's get started. Now, for those of us who have gotten our course material already, something about this course, all right, speaks a lot about what we refer to as auditing. All right, the course speaks a lot about what we refer to as auditing. Okay, and just as we have it in the first volume, we'll be considering what it means by auditing. Now, when we talk about auditing, what are we simply referring to? Okay, when we talk about auditing, what are we simply referring to? Now, please, I need you to pay attention to what I'm about to say so you don't get to miss out on any of the details. All right. Now, when we talk about auditing, we are simply referring to a process. All right. Auditing is simply nothing more than a process. Okay. And what makes this process special? What makes it different? All right. What makes it cut across a whole lot? All right. What makes it cut across a whole lot of department, a whole lot of aspect of life. We're going to find out very soon. I don't know why my camera keeps doing this. Okay, just want to try something real quickly. Okay. I don't know why it just keeps zooming. Just a moment. Okay. Now, like I said, it's a process. Now, what is this process all about? This process is intentional. Auditing is very deliberate and intentional about examining. Those are the keywords. All right. Auditing is very intentional and deliberate about the examination. Okay. It is very intentional. I think it has to do with the lighting. Just give me a second. Let's try this. I think it has to do with lighting. Okay. Let's see if it's better now. There's so much lighting on the board, which I don't find really interesting. So much reflects. Okay. I think the camera is trying to focus on the lighting. Let's see. I should take it from here. It's going to be a bit different. Okay. I think it's even worse that way. I think it has a lot to do with the lighting. Aha, I think it's better now. Yeah, it's better now. And the camera is trying to focus on the board, but the lighting is not sufficient. So that's why it's just keep trying to auto focus. I think it's better now. So now, as I was explaining, but with this, my kind of system is sufficient because I'm actually using my backup. I'm not supposed to use this now. It's actually my backup. Let's see if I can switch for something else and switch off my backup. Okay, just a moment. Okay, yeah. I think it's a little bit fair now. Now, like I said, auditing, what makes auditing different is that auditing is very particular about something. And what is that thing auditing is very intentional and particular about. All right. Auditing is very intentional and particular about examination or the examining of what we refer to as financial records. All right. Okay. Auditing is very intentional and particular about the examination of financial records. All right. Now, under these financial records, we have other things like financial statements as well. All right. And the reason why this is intentional, the reason why auditing is intentional and deliberate about this is because of accuracy. Okay. Because of accuracy. Okay. Accuracy. Okay. Because of accuracy. Now, when it comes to finance, a whole lot is involved. Okay. When it comes to finance, a whole lot is involved. You don't just play with figures, you don't just joke with figures. Everything has to be on point when it comes to finance, meaning that people, investors, companies, organizations do not joke with their money. All right. If the accountant says a thing, you need to bring in an external body to verify. All right. And even the Bible says that the truth is established from the mouth of one or two witnesses. Okay. That is the concept behind auditing. The auditor is the individual that does the auditing process. Good enough, the accountant should have been having an accountant on board should be suffice. All right, should have sufficed when it comes to giving accurate information. But just because of the fact that these informations need to be 100% accurate, an auditor is still required. All right, so the auditor is brought on board to perform this process called auditing. And this process we call auditing involves what we refer to as the examination. All right. What it does is to examine. What is he examining? The financial records. All right. That is job to examine the financial records. All right. Financial records, financial statements of an organization for to achieve what purpose? The purpose of accuracy. All right, to be sure that the information provided by the accountant of this organization is 100% accurate. So the investors or anyone or anybody who has a particular involvement in that organization can have what we call accurate and effective information that they will use to make decisions whether they should invest in the company or they should withdraw all their shares in that company. And that's why this process is very, very important when it comes to accounting. So now, with that being said, let's hop straight into the next one. All right. So now, one of the, I said accuracy is one of the very important reasons why we do auditing. Okay. And with accuracy, you can easily identify fraud. Okay. With accuracy, you can easily identify fraud, you can easily detect errors and misinterpretations. Okay, with accuracy. That's one of the purpose. Those are the purpose of auditing. Help you determine errors. Okay, I know this accountant maybe he has done an oversighting, all right, or he has done an undersighting, or maybe he have overstated or understated. Oh, this error, maybe it was supposed to be 5 zeros, he mistakenly added 6 zeros. Right, that is the job of the auditor. That is what the auditing process helps to iron out. Okay, also helps to identify intentional errors, errors that are not intentional. We can overlook them as errors, but when it becomes intentional and becomes consistent, then they can be flagged as fraud. All right, so the case of fraud as well, and the case of misinterpretations. So those are the things why those are the reasons why we need to bring in the auditor, which happens to be an external and independent body to come and perform the auditing process. So let's take a step further. So we have the evolution of auditing. Okay. So let's see what we have under the evolution. Auditing. I think I need to work on the lighting. I think basically because the lighting is behind, so it's more like when I move towards this axis, I can see my shadow displaying on the white spot. So I think I need to reposition the lighting for effective illumination. Now, what do we have here? Under the evolution, that should be evolution, I beg your pardon. Evolution of auditing. Now, when we say evolution, we're talking about the processes, the stages. All right, definitely, auditing is not what it used to be when it first started. It has observed, it has experienced series of improvement, growth, expansion, all right, development and upgrading. So we want to talk about how it all started and what it is as we speak. That is what evolution of auditing is all about. We'll look at it from the genesis, how the process of auditing began, right? Who introduced it? Where was it first introduced? How did it come into play? Definitely, there's a creator, there's an inventor of this term. So let's look deep into it as we go into the evolution of auditing. Now, the very first thing we have here is that the evidence of auditing be, existed during the Babylonian time. All right, date back to 3000 BC. So we have to be space conscious. So we have 3000 BC during the what? The Babylonian, okay, era. So we are being told now, according to the course material, that when you hear of auditing, auditing is as old as 3000 years ago. All right, you can trace the origin, the genesis of auditing back to 3000 BC, 3000 before, 3000 years before Christ. All right, so and this era happens to be during the Babylonian era. All right, auditing activities, all right, was also found in China, Greece, and Rome. All right, so it's not just during the Babylonian era alone, it was also found auditing activities. So we have auditing activities was also found in ancient China, was also found in ancient China, Greece, was also found in ancient China, Greece, and Rome. All right, so please pay attention to this. Remember, we said the very first one here is that this evolution can be traced back to 3000 years ago before Christ, okay, during the Babylonian era. And when we proceeded and we talked about these auditing activities also surfaced during the ancient China, Greece, and Rome. All right, China, Greece, and Rome era. Now, in Rome, in particular, auditors, right, heard taxpayers, such as farmers, all right, give public accounts results of their businesses and the tax due. Now, what it was like then during the era, all right, in Rome, auditors were very helpful when it comes to helping farmers, all right, give accounts of their business, all right, public accounts, helping farmers give accounts of their business. And during this era, tax was also a very big issue, right? Tax is a very big issue that it doesn't go unnoticed. So the auditors were very effective during this era in these um, areas as well. Now it says here that the word audit itself, the genesis of the word audit itself, now it says it that the word audit the word audit, the genesis of the word audit can be traced to Latin. Okay, can be traced to Latin. Or the genesis of the word can be traced to Latin from the word audire. Okay, from the word audire, which means to hear. Okay, the genesis of the word audit can be traced to the origin of Latin. All right, and the origin of Latin, from the origin of Latin, we have what it means by audire, that's Latin origin, and translated into English, it means to hear. Translated into English, it means to hear. Are we together? Now, let's take a step further. I need to work on this elimination. Now, it says the auditor was a hearer or listener. The auditor is a hearer or a listener. All right. The job of the auditor basically is to hear. All right. To pay attention to what? Pay detailed attention to look into what any other person can look. I don't know if you are getting it. The job of the author is not just to watch big things. His job is to go deeper, to observe what any other person can easily overlook. But as far as the auditor is concerned, he's more of scrutinizing. All right. So he's more of an era, considering the origin now. He's more of an era and a listener. That is his responsibility. Still talking about the evolution of auditing. Now it says here that in China and Egypt, all right, in China and Egypt, auditors were supervisors. What were they supervising? They supervised the account of the emperors. As far as China is concerned, China has to do with emperor, while Egypt has to do with pharaoh. Now let's take that down. Okay, can we all hear me? So now they are responsible for the supervision. Super verifies accounts. Their sole responsibility is to supervise. What are they supervising? They are supervising as far as China, all right? In ancient China, in ancient China, as far as the auditor is concerned, his job is to supervise, all right? His job is to supervise the emperor's accounts. As far as late or ancient Egypt is concerned, the job of the auditor is to supervise the pharaoh's accounts. All right, and like we have it here, we talk about the emperor, talk about the pharaoh. We are talking about a ruler of an empire. All right, but in particular, that is more like the emperor. The ruler of an empire is typically holding, all right, more power and territory than a king. All right, so um, kings and other lawmakers, all right, can report to them. They are more like the pinnacle. Both the emperor and pharaoh, they are the pinnacle of power and authority in any territory. All right, so they are the apex. All right, they are the apex of the symbol of power and authority. All right, you can imagine how important everything that has to do with this symbol of authority and power needs to be taken into detail. And this is how the auditor came into life. Are we together? So we have that as that. Now, now over the countries, the role of the auditor as hearers and verifiers. All right, they can also be referred to as verifiers. So we have a hearer, a listener, a verifier. All right. So now it says here role of auditor as hearers and verifiers of reports evolved to include that of verifying written record. So now what we are being told that initially, originally, all right, the pure genesis, the pure origin of this word audits and auditor is nothing more than to hear. Okay, nothing more than just to listen. All right, then you after you're done listening, then you give account of what you have heard. All right, but as administration begin to evolve, as management begin to evolve, all right, whereby things became more complex, management became more complex, all right, and a whole lot of things begin to mix with each other. Then the auditor no longer just hear, no longer just listen, but now what? Verify, all right, written records. All right. It was never in their place to what? Verify written records before now. All right. But as things advances, as things become evolved or things became evolved, now they now take more, they have progressed or evolved into now verifying written documents. So it's not just to listen anymore, but also look into written documents as well. Now, reference is being made to the discovery, all right, and the documentation of double entry bookkeeping in Italy, all right, by a Catholic priest called Luca Pacioli, all right, dated back to 1497, gave more impetus to auditing. All right, those are some role player in the history of auditing. I think I need to erase this. And we should be calling it a wrap for the class already. Our time is, we have exhausted our time. But let's just take this before we call it a wrap. Okay, so it says discovery the discovery of double entry bookkeeping. Let's just use BK, all right, in Italy. In what year? In November, 20th of November, 14, I don't know why I keep saying 19, 1494. Who made this discovery? A priest, all right, not just any priest, a Catholic priest made the discovery, and his name is Luca Pacioli. Okay, so please pay attention to this information, very important. Pay detailed attention to this information, very, very important. So we'll call it wrap here for today. um I need to take something down here. I know where to start the next class from. Okay, so we are still going to be talking about auditing. Okay, my next class we're still going to be talking about auditing, but now we'll be particular about the objectives. All right, we'll be talking about the objectives. All right, auditing, and in our next class we'll be moving at a little bit yeah, fast pace, so we can cover a whole lot more. But we're going to call it wrap here for today. So I'm going to give us a quick one. So let's ensure to for now.